Hey, hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Self-Made Podcast. I'm your host, Trca, and I have been looking forward to this episode for a while because this episode is all about dating, it's all about relationships. It's something that's been heavy on my heart the past probably 6 months. If you listen to any of my episodes, I kind of joke about my dating life, and it's like, it's a mess. I always just say it's a mess, and whatever, and I kind of skip over it and I don't talk about it a ton, but I have been praying and learning so much about relationships and dating, and I feel like I'm finally very level-headed about it, and I have so much clarity and understanding and intention, and there's just so much I'm so excited to share. And I think I might make a little series on my podcast kind of about dating and relationships because there is so much to cover. So this first episode is going to be a Q&A, and I just asked you guys a bunch of questions. You guys know I kind of go on tangents, and I'm sure I'll share a lot of details other than just the questions, if little things kind of pop in and out. I never script my podcast. I really just sit down and I just keep it real, I keep it raw, and we just chat. And that's why I love my podcast, just because it's not too organized, it's not scripted, it's just a chat. I just feel like I'm chatting with my girls, my friends, and that's where we're gonna keep it. So yeah, I'm just gonna start by going through some of the questions that you guys asked me on Instagram. If you guys don't follow me on Trca, the Trca Twins, the Self-Made Podcast. I post a lot of content for the podcast on all of those platforms and daily on every single platform. But I utilize my stories a lot to get questions for you guys to ask and talk about on my podcast. So it's a great place to find that. Or if you ever have recommendations you want me to chat about on the pod, I get a lot of DMs and I love it. So anyway, we're going to start with the Q&A. I'm going to go through the questions, give you guys advice, and just kind of share parts of what I've been learning. And then if you guys want, next week I was thinking I might bring my brother on it. We could kind of get a boy's perspective on it. And then who knows? I don't really know. I just have a lot of, I feel like, wisdom and advice, and I feel like I've just made such a 360 on my perspective on dating and relationships in the past month. This is recent, you guys, and I've been waiting, and I'm I feel like this is such a good time because Valentine's Day is coming up. Literally, if you're watching the video, if you guys didn't know, I have a video episode available on my YouTube channel. So if you guys are more of a viewer than a listener, watch it on there, subscribe. But I got my new pink Skims Valentine's Day sweatsuit. I'm obsessed with Skims, and her cotton boyfriend sweatpants, the flare big leg one, are my favorite. I have them in now 3 colors, and I wear them as much as I can. But this came in the mail. I'm okay, pink, relationships, Valentine's Day's coming up. I'm this is so perfect. So I also just drank a Celsius, so I'm raring to go. But it's because I'm genuinely so excited to talk about this episode because I feel like I can help so many of you, because I didn't have a lot of this understanding, and I wish I would have sooner. And so yeah, I'm gonna be real, I'm gonna be blunt, I'm gonna be your big sister. I'm not gonna just sugarcoat anything. So when you guys, there's some questions in here, and I'm gonna be completely honest. I'm gonna tell you as if you were my little sister or my best friend, or what I have to tell myself, because most of these I've been in these situations as well. But yeah, I guess a quick rundown of my dating life if you're new here. It's interesting. So I dated a guy from 14 to 20 for 6 years. We lived together for 6 months, and then we broke up. It was a really healthy breakup. Nothing bad happened. I have all the most love and respect for that man. He's an amazing person. It just wasn't my person. Again, if you think about it, you're a completely different person at 14 as you are 20, and I'm a different person from 20 to 22 now. So a lot was just changing in our lives, and it just wasn't meant to be. Anyway, since then I've been single. I've dated a few, when I say date, it's funny because I feel the older you get, that's used in a different context. I feel dating now is you're seeing somebody, you're going on dates, you're hanging out, but you're not in a relationship. I think a relationship and I think dating are two completely different things. So I've dated, in air quotes, but not actually been in a relationship with a few guys. Had some flings, I've had my heart, I feel literally gutted and shattered, but then I've also been the one I've ghosted. I've been misled. I've met just some crazy guys. I've met some really sweet guys. I've just learned a lot. I feel I was thrown into a crash course on dating in the past 2 years because I really didn't know how to date, because I dated one guy for 6 years, and he never, he was the most loyal. I had so much trust in him. There was no red flags with this man. So I went into dating so naive because I had so much trust in every guy, thinking they'd all be like him. No, I think the Lord was all right, I'm gonna give you a bunch of lessons. I'm gonna fly you through this. It was a crash course on men and dating, and I feel I've been through the ringer. I'm not gonna lie. But I feel like I'm in the healthiest position of my life right now, and that's saying a lot. Like when I say healthiest position, I mean like in the context, in the terms of like dating and relationships. I feel like I have such a good understanding on what I want. And let me tell you guys, this will probably like, I'm only growing. So like I'm only gonna learn more as I go. I'm not saying I understand it all now, but I finally feel like I'm to a point where I can talk about it and I can give good advice, and I feel confident in what I'm saying because I'm actually in a position myself to want to set an example. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, that was a ramble and a tangent. Should we just get into the questions? Guys, we're just going to start with the first question that I got asked. There's quite a few, but this one's good. So these are no in particular order. We're just going to go through them. I literally just have them on Instagram. Okay. This is a juicy one, okay, you guys? So somebody wants advice and asked about her boyfriend being friends with a girl that he used to hook up with. Girl, I'm going to be honest. I am going to be completely honest, and I feel bad saying this almost, but I'm doing this with your best interest at heart. That's a red flag. Like, that's a no for me. I would say no because it's not like they were friends previous. It's so different because in this context, it's not like it's like a girlfriend. I do believe you can be friends with like a male and a female. I think they can be friends if they have like a long history of being friends. But the fact that they have hooked up, that's a no. Like, that's a no. No. Because once you cross that line with a person, it's never the same. It is never the same. There's literally like, God formed us to create like a soul bond when you do that. And that is why a hookup culture, and I could literally talk about like waiting till marriage and that kind of stuff, but I've really grown in my faith recently, and that's why I think I've had so much clarity and so many revelations and realizations on dating. And I'm not going to make this whole thing about my faith, but it is a big part of my dating, my perspective on dating and relationships and men. But one, when you hook up with someone, it changes everything. Like, I don't care if you don't have feelings before, they're gonna be there, whether you know it or not. Like, there's a hormone I think women release. Okay, don't quote me because I don't research this stuff, but I have heard that there's like a hormone that women release once they actually hook up and have sex. And it is made, God made it to like bond your soul together, you guys. Like, girls, you fall for them. Like, it's you, there's something with like something about a woman, and then they like almost like crave that person once they've had it. So keep in mind who you're hooking up with, because it changes. Like, I don't know how people say they just like hook up with whoever, especially a female. Like, I think it's in our DNA for us to like fall for those people differently, but don't do that yourself as a female. But two, whether you trust your boyfriend or not, there's still another person involved as well. So that girl, his girlfriend, probably is madly in love with him. If they're best friends and they hooked up, what's missing? Why aren't they together? That's my opinion. Like, my future husband is going to be my best friend, and if we cross that line of being intimate, like, why wouldn't you date them? Like, why aren't they dating? That's where I'm trying to wrap my head around it. So it's like, I would have a lot of red flags. I would be skeptical. And the thing is too, like, I don't even want that to be like an issue I have to deal with in a relationship. So I don't think that's an issue you should even have to deal with in a relationship. Like, I think there's a lot of red flags because there's probably a lot of stuff we don't even know about in that situation too, you know? So my advice to you would be to end that. That's going bye-bye. Like, I don't think you can be like, you can't be friends with her. Like, I would value myself and respect myself to be like, all right, now, like, I deserve better than that, because if they are best friends but they used to hook up, like, that's just too fishy. That's too fishy. You deserve better. I feel like that's all I'm gonna say, because there's just a connection. I feel like if you have been intimate with somebody, you understand what I'm saying. Like, it changes things whether you want to or not. Yeah, okay. This is a good question because I feel like this is a hard thing to kind of navigate and understand. And it says, how do we know if there's actually a person for us? I know because I believe in God. I believe that He created somebody for me, and it's just so important to not get impatient and not lose faith and not lose trust in that, because timing is everything. That is what I've learned. My life has just been like, I feel like I'm like living through my testimony right now. Like, God has just been proving to me over and over and over and over again. Patience is huge. waiting for the right person is huge. Like, being in the right rooms is huge. And he's probably still working on you. He's probably still working on your partner. He's working on somebody within that relationship, and you're gonna know when you know. Like, I truly believe in that. And I've yet to meet that person, like, when you know, you know. But I do believe that everybody does have, like, their destined partner. And I think that's because of my faith, though. So I would definitely, like, fall back on that and revert to your faith and pray about it and pray for, like, your future wife or your future husband, and trust in that, because I think it's easy to give up. I felt like there isn't a man for me, and I've lived in fear that, like, I'm gonna be single forever. I'm not lying, because I dated a lot of different guys, and, like, I was trying, and it was always failing. I'm like, what's wrong with me? And that was when things got really bad, like, spirally bad. And I had to kind of, like, take a moment, step back and reflect. And I was like, okay, I'm putting all of my purpose and all of my intention and all of my, like, everything into, like, seeking out other people, that I wasn't focused on myself either. And I think it's huge to, I know everyone's like, focus on you and, like, become the best version of you, but think about it, like, you date the people at the equal level that you're at. So it's like, if you're not happy with where you're at, like, that's the type of partner you're going to attract. And that's where I was at. That's where I was struggling personally, was like, thank God. I thank God and I praise God. And this is why I trust in timing, because I'm like, if I would have met somebody literally 2 months ago, like, even 2 months ago, I was a completely different person back then. And the guys that I would have dated back then are completely different. Like, I'm so happy that I didn't date someone with that version of myself. And I know I'm only growing and becoming better. So it's like, I do trust in God's timing that he will place a man into my life exactly in the moment that I'm ready and that I need. And not necessarily need, but, like, it's the right timing. It's divine timing. And I do think I'm, like, on the right path to that. And that's why I have so much hope and faith in finding somebody. But it's like, God's still working on me. And I think I've had, so, like I said, so many realizations and revelations of, like, what I find attractive in a man and what I respect. And my own boundaries have changed. And so much of what I look for in a person is completely different. And so I think trusting in the timing and allowing yourself to develop and continue to mature and learn, it makes it easier, I guess, the waiting and the patience aspect of it. But I do think that there really is somebody for us. And I think that because of God. Anyway, moving on to the next question. Okay, this is one that I'm going to be just blunt and honest on. When your man's not your man, but is your man, but doesn't actually want to date you. Alright, let me just explain that. So you're with a guy who won't claim to be your boyfriend, your man, but he is your man, but he doesn't actually want to date you. I've been there, done that. I've been in a situationship, and it was the worst thing in my life. But again, I had a lot of time where I'm, like, thinking, ponder, reflect, and pray about stuff. And I'm like, you know what? I think God put me through a lot of these things so I can sit and share and chat about them with you guys, because I wish I would have realized this a long time ago. If a man does not want to commit to you, cut it off. Like, I want to, like, shake you and tell you that, because that's what I wish I could have done to myself. It's an absolute no. Because, one, being in that is only holding you back from meeting your person who does want to date you and who will treat you like a princess and who wants to claim you and is proud of you, wants to show you off and treat you the way you deserve to be treated. So you staying in a situationship like that is literally just prolonging that, and it's doing so much damage to you. It hinders your respect for yourself, and you start to question yourself, because it's like, why doesn't he want to date me? Why doesn't he want to show me off? Why doesn't he want to claim me? That's going to mess with your own confidence. No man should ever have that capability and that power to do that to you, because that is just toxic. The way I guess, accepted the situationship was kind of like God was doing everything in his power to protect me from getting into a relationship with that person, because God knew that wasn't the right person. Like, God's not going to allow you to, like, end up with someone who's the wrong person, but you do have to be, like, aware of that, because some people do fall in love with the wrong people, they end up getting divorced, yada yada yada, but it's because they kind of, like, settled and they went for the wrong person because they didn't want to be lonely. A lot of times I feel like we fear loneliness, and so we settle. Or, I mean, there's a million different reasons, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole right now, but if this man isn't claiming you, he's literally using you. he's using you and he's taking advantage of you because he knows you're going to be there. Oh, this like fires me up because it's like so upsetting that, and this can be vice versa. I'm not saying this is just girls to guys or guys to girls. Like I know some girls probably do this to guys too, but in this situation it's a guy to a girl, and it like breaks my heart because that's kind of the situation I was in too. And it's just like they're using you and they're taking advantage of you, and they know your weakness and like your vulnerability, and I'm sure it kind of sounds like you might want more out of the relationship than they do, and they're just taking advantage of that and getting what they want without having to put in any work. And it's like, that is not a man. That is not a man. That is the most boy, childlike, immature thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, be a man and either don't be in a relationship because you're not ready and you don't want to be in one, or be a man and lead your woman and claim her and do what God has designed a man to do, and that is to lead and pursue. So like, it rattles my brain that like men can be like proud of that. Like, that is like honestly embarrassing for guys to be like, yeah, you know, these girls, like, you're just taking advantage, you're not living like a true man. And that is one realization I've come to understand and wrap my brain around, and I thank God every single day. Like, I will never put myself through another situationship. Communication is huge. And if I'm like, okay, we are spending a lot of time together, we're hanging out, feelings are becoming involved. Like, obviously, in this situation, it sounds like you do have feelings because you're saying he doesn't want to date you. It's kind of sounding like you would want to date him. And that was me. Like, I wanted a relationship too, and they didn't want one. And I thought, like, oh, maybe, like, one day. No. If it's not now, it's never. I'm going to be honest. Like, if they have you, like, this tight, like, one, why would they commit? Because being in a situationship, it's like they're getting what they want, but then it's almost like they're still allowing themselves to go out and date. So if something better comes along, technically they're not doing any wrong by like cutting it off with you or like ghosting you or like leaving you for someone new. It's like God creates like relationships and all of these things to like protect us from getting hurt. And so I feel like putting yourself in a situation that a man is going to commit to you, it's like you're just allowing yourself to be hurt. Like, there's really no good in it. And it's so sad because, like I said, like, you're just limiting yourself from somebody who would treat you well and would claim you. And I feel like that's what we all desire. We all want to be like loved and pursued and desired. So cut him off. He's not your man. Okay? Be like, I deserve better, and there is better out there, but you're doing yourself no good by staying in it. And I get it. Like, I promise you, I get it. It is so hard in the moment because you do have feelings like involved and attached, and you want them to be your man. But just trust me, if you let him go and you get out of it, you'll be thankful that he wasn't your man, and you will be very thankful that that didn't go the way you wanted it to, because oftentimes the things we want are often what we need and what's honestly good for us. Like, we're always going to get better than we can even like imagine. Like, God's plan is always so much greater than we can even fathom and dream about. So it's like, have faith in that too. But sis, just cut it off. Like, situationships are a freaking no. Like, that, no. Okay, moving on. Okay, this is like a short one, but this is funny. As you get older, does it seem more normal to get engaged quicker, yes or no? I would say yes, because, and my short answer to this is because I think the older we get, the more mature we get, the more clarity we have on like standards and values and morals and boundaries. And so it's easier to like kind of go through the checklist of like, you're gonna fit or you're not gonna fit. And I feel like too, when you're like later in life, you're living a more similar life as you would like married to this person or being engaged and stuff, and you can like picture a life with them easier because you're more established. And so I do feel like those are the reasons that it is quicker to get engaged, because it's less like, you're less discovering who you are and what you want, and you pretty much know what you want. So when you find it, it's like, boom, that's it. And I do believe in like, you'll know when you know. I feel like everyone who's like happily married kind of says that, and I've seen it. And I just feel like too, like when I meet the person, I'm like, okay, this is my person, because I've just never had that feeling, and I'm clearly still single. So that is why I would say that it does seem like people get engaged quicker. And again too, I feel like that kind of like, I've realized like why Christians get married really young and really fast. It's like when you put God in the center of your relationship, it changes everything. Like, I don't know how I dated without like having the faith that I do. And like, I've only been going like, I can only say I've been like strong in my faith in probably like the last like 2 months. I've been going to church religiously, like every week for the past like year and a couple months, like a little over a year. But like I've really dove into my like faith in the past like 2 months, and it's been like top priority. And it has just, okay, honestly guys, not even the past 2 months, like since January, since I started reading my Bible every day, January 1st, that is what shifted, and that is what has like changed my entire perspective on dating. It's honestly crazy. Like it's crazy, but I feel like Christians know when they know because they put God at the center of the relationship and they have boundaries, and everyone's like, oh, they just get married quick so then they can be intimate, because a lot of Christians wait till marriage. No, I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna be completely blunt and honest. I used to think that too. I'm like, they just like don't wanna wait. No, it's when you put God at the center of the relationship, it's such a healthier relationship. You don't have any of these situationships. You don't have any of these men not leading, pursuing, and having like open, real like when God is in the relationship, guys, it is so rich, and it is so like I've experienced this just through friendships here. Like I've made so many Christian friends, and I have never felt more fulfilled and more loved in my life that I do with these people, and it is wild. Like it is so wild. And some of my best friends down here, like one of them just got engaged, and we talk about her relationship, and I always say, I'm like, God put you in my life, and like I was telling him, like at first it was almost like I was jealous. I was a little envious of like how well this man treats my friend. I'm like, he is raising the bar for me. Like he is setting the standard for what I expect out of a man now. And at first I would be jealous, like a little jealous and a little envious deep down, I'm not gonna lie, because she'd be saying all this stuff, and I'm like, I can't even get a man to like snap me back. Like I'm struggling on like this, like that right now, and this man's over here doing the most, treating her like a freaking princess, like the kindest, sweetest, everything. And she's like, it's because our like relationship is centered around God. And I'm like, you're right. And it's just every person that I met since, it's just proof. And I'm like, okay. But yeah, anyway, kind of bouncing off that, because this is a question about dating as a Christian. It says, how to tell when someone is really a Christian, or just saying they are because they know you are. I feel like this can be tough, because I feel like some people will say that they have a relationship with God, or they are a Christian because they know that's something you value. But the thing is, my perspective on this is at least that they are willing to say that, because I feel like that means that there's potential in them becoming closer with God because of you, and I think you can kind of lead them in that direction. And if that is something you value, like at least they understand that. Because I've met some guys and like I believe in God, but like I don't feel the need to go to church. And now I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pray for you, but like you're not my man, at least not right now, because like I really like I feel like I have no other option. Like I have no other desire other than to like date a man of God. Like because when God is present in a man, like they are a man, and they're just gonna treat you like the relationship is just gonna be so much healthier and richer. It's like I just wouldn't want to not date a Christian man based on like who Christian men are. Like that's what I look for in a man. Yeah, anyway, I'm kind of blanking just because there's a lot I could talk about on there, and I just don't want to get too carried away. But I just think like there's no way to really tell how Christian they are, especially if it's like a new relationship. But I guess just trusting in the fact that they say that they are, I feel that's like kind of not a great thing to say you're a Christian if you're not. But like hopefully maybe you guys can do a Bible study together, or you guys can go to church together. At least like start presenting that into like your relationship or your friendship or whatever it is, and like see how it grows, and like give it a shot, give it a chance, because I do feel like there's a lot of potential in that. And this is another good question. Should you date someone who is not as strong into their faith as you? If they still have a faith, if they still have a baseline, if they are willing to give it a chance and give it a try and want to grow with God, I can promise you they will, especially if they are in a relationship with someone who has such a strong faith. Like for me, it's like such a big part of my life. I can't even imagine like having a significant other, like having a boyfriend who like didn't also grow in their faith being around me. Like just based on like my friendships that I've had, like it's like a contagious thing. And once you see God working in somebody, you're like, okay, I want what they have. And then I think like a lot of what I do is like I lead by example. I never push things on people, but it's like just watch God work in my life, and you're probably gonna want a piece of that, and then I can share that with you. And so it's like, come to church with me, like we can do a Bible study together, we'll have a conversation about God, and it's like they'll start wanting it. So I think if they even have that baseline desire, and willingness to try, I think that's all you can ask. Because like I said, my best friend who I was just talking about down here, who I look up to their relationship, her fiance, they're now engaged, which is amazing. But when they met, like he like was brought up like Christian, but they didn't really regularly go to church. But when they met, she was like in the height of her like faith and like her walk with God and Jesus and stuff, and like she just was recently baptized and everything. And so he knew that going into it, and she's like, he had like started going to church and he wanted to learn more because he just felt it like radiating off her, and like saw the amount of joy and happiness that it brought to her, that he wanted a piece of it. And so I think if they have that desire, I think it will grow. And I do think God works in that way too, and like he will bring that to your relationship. So I don't think they need to be at your same level, but I think it is really great if that they have a baseline or a desire too. Like I would date a guy who doesn't go to church but is willing to like try it, you know? Okay. How to meet godly men. Okay, I love how these are all Christian questions. I have no idea. I'm just looking through these honestly kind of for the first time. How to meet godly men. Put yourself in environments where godly men are at. And when I can tell you probably the best place to go is like a young adults night. Every church has it. I go to like 2 different churches. I go to like a young adults night at one church, and then I go to like Sunday church at another, but my Sunday church also has a young adults night. It's on a different night, so maybe I should go to both. But there is where you will find them. It is so cool. Like me and Jake talked about this on our last podcast, but I was thinking how nervous I was to go, and I just went to it again last night. But it is all people like desiring the same thing, and they're hearing the same message, and it's so cool. But like if there's a guy on say a Thursday night at 7 p.m. going to like a church service for young adults, like they're probably a pretty dang good guy. Like there's some potential there. So I think like literally last night at our event, like it's like the second night of like the season or whatever, and so a lot of new people are there, and the pastor like preaching and stuff was like saying how this is such a great, he literally was saying how this is like the perfect place to date somebody, and he was like, stand up if you're single. He literally had to stand up. There was so many, there's like hundreds of people at this, and I'm not kidding you, like probably 3/4 of the people stood up, and he's like, all right, now circle around, check out like your options. Like he's kind of making it a joke, but like it's really funny how many people were there and how many of us were single. And it's like, put yourself in an environment like that. And like even too like at church, if you can form like a group of people, like one of Jake and I's really good friends, we met through the church, and like he's introduced us to so many people too. And he was telling me how he actually set up one of his good girlfriends with a guy who went to like GCU, which is like a Christian school down in Arizona. And so it's like networking in that sense even too, like having one godly man or godly friend can kind of network and connect you to other godly people. But a young adults night at your church is literally the place to go. I know a lot of college campuses also have this, like Seoul, I don't know, I know in Iowa that's a thing, but I feel like it's a nationwide thing as well. Go to those, drag a friend along, go alone. Like over time you'll start to make friendships and you'll meet people, and that's where I would start. Otherwise, Sunday at church. Yeah, those 2 places for sure. Next question. Okay, I like this. Sacrifices. When does giving up too much become an issue? So I think that's why creating and forming boundaries are so huge. And I think too, once you become like more invested in the person, so once your relationship starts to like grow and blossom and you get to that point where you're having to make sacrifices, I think you need to sit down and have a conversation of your boundaries and theirs and what you expect and what they expect, and just make sure you can form like a line. Because especially at a young age, before you're married, before you have kids, I don't think the sacrifices, I don't want to be making like these huge life sacrifices at 22 for a guy I'm like seeing, you know. So I think it comes down to like the situation itself. But giving up too much, like, I don't think you should feel like you're giving up something. I feel like compromise is huge, and that's something I did struggle with in my first relationship because I just wasn't mature enough. I wasn't ready to be in that serious of a relationship. I think I was just too immature. I was too young. I was 18, 19. But if you feel like you're giving something up, I feel like that seems like such a negative, and I feel as though if you're in a healthy relationship, it should feel as more like you're doing it for, like, I don't feel like you should feel like you're giving something up. I feel like it should be like you're giving something to them, like you're helping them. I feel like it should seem like more of a positive, and I feel like for the way that was worded, it seems almost as though it's like a negative. But again, don't get me wrong, I do think compromise is huge, but giving up part of yourself or giving up like a hobby or like a value or something, I don't think that you should do that. I do think like God created like a soul match, like your perfect partner. And I think sometimes often we get too impatient, and I think we get too lonely and we settle. And so I feel like in a lot of those situations, I feel like that's when we feel like we have to over compromise. And I feel like that's when we feel we're giving up part of us. Because I don't think a person should make you feel whole, but you should feel whole, you know? I think God can make you feel whole, and then that leads you to the person that you'll meet that makes you feel like so warm and fuzzy and happy and full of joy and love. But I don't know. I just think that if you feel like you're giving something up, I don't know. Moving on, next question. This one isn't like Christian based. We'll kind of do some other ones. So how to keep boundaries with guy friends when not dating and not wanting to date. I think the best thing you can do, and my best friend Taylor taught me this because she has a lot of guy friends too, communication and being clear and to the point. Like, it's not going to be weird, but I think you need to like have, like, if you think they're kind of coming on to you, I think it's really important just to be like, hey, I don't know, I just want to make things clear. Like, it's you avoiding any hurt. Like, it's you doing good by making sure they know where you're at. Because again, that's kind of where situationships start to begin. It's typically starts with a friendship and then things kind of escalate, but then it's either two people in a situationship because no one wants to admit they have feelings, or one person knows they have feelings, and then the other person's taking advantage of that and getting what they want. You know, I feel like those are the two ways situationships go. Avoid both. Avoid both. But I think if you have guy friends and you don't want to date and you want to set boundaries, set them. Have that conversation and be like, if you're good enough friends, I feel like you can be like, okay, I don't want this to be weird, but I just want to put this out there. And everyone's going to be happy you have that conversation, because one, they're not going to do something that they regret or come on to you and then be embarrassed and wish they hadn't, or there's not going to be awkward tension. There's not going to be, like, if you can literally sit there and be like, okay, we are just friends, like, I don't want this to be any more than that, and they agree, then that's great. Think how much pressure that takes off of, like, hanging out and being with them and being like, okay, they genuinely are just my guy friend. That's amazing. So just set the boundaries, and you can kind of bring it up, like, lightly. I feel like, but communication is just so huge. So I don't know if you guys like hang out in person a lot, or you just like throw it out there, or if you guys like have a lot of like deep conversations. I feel like a lot of my guy friends I'm very close with, like, we sit and have really in-depth conversations, and it's not that hard to bring it up in a conversation like that. Or you could literally text them and just be like, hey, I just want to put this out there. Like, go about it in a mature, polite way. Don't come off like, okay, dude, like, I don't know what's going on, like, I don't like you like that. Like, be very respectful and be like, I value our friendship and I don't want anything to harm that. Say it like that. Like, that's I think how most of it is too, with like guy friends and girlfriends. It's like, you don't want to cross that line and like ruin the friendship. But again too, I feel like if you know, you know. So if it's not there, it's not there. Just kind of make that clear. But again, communication is so huge. Don't not communicate because you're scared you're gonna hurt someone's feelings, because their feelings will be more hurt if you don't communicate, because things will progress and something's bound to happen. So just have that conversation. What's the biggest difference you've noticed between guys in Iowa and guys in Arizona? You know what? They're pretty similar. I would say they're pretty similar. I feel like guys in Arizona, I don't know, I've surrounded myself by like a different type of guy since being here. Like I've changed a lot. So the people I hang around changes a lot. And so they're just not even really like in the same ballpark. Not that one's necessarily better than the other, but it's just like they're different types of guys. So a lot is different for me. But I do think down here, guys take dating less serious. I think a lot of guys are more in it for like the one night stands or like the situationships, or it's just not that serious. Like, I feel like guys just go out and want to have fun and want to have a girl along, rather than like wanting to like commit into a long-term relationship, especially with like ASU being down here and like Scottsdale, like Old Town and stuff. Like there's a lot of like partying in this environment, and so I feel like when it comes with that, it's a lot less I feel like most people who go out and party, and I'm not trying to like put everyone in one basket, and I don't mean to be like critical when I say this, but I think a lot of people who go out and party, they do it because they're like seeking out girls or guys, or trying to like pick up a girl or a guy. But typically you don't go out thinking you're gonna meet like your husband, you know, your future husband. I think it's more of like something short term. And I feel like there's a lot more short term interest here. But I've met like amazing people, and so I don't want to put them all in one basket. I just have like, it's opened my eyes, honestly though, like to being like, okay, I don't want to date like that. Like that's not the route that I want to go down. I'm definitely like looking for a husband. So the areas that I'm looking for guys has changed too. So, okay, I like this question. How to show interest in a guy but not come off too clingy or too much? This is hard because I feel like with social media and stuff, like the way we show interest is like liking a story or like sliding up and like trying to like, you know, kind of flirt. And I feel like that's not a bad thing. I don't think it's bad to show interest through that. But I feel like it's such a natural process. Like if you realize, like, I feel like it's like a mutual thing. I feel like to start off, start small. Maybe like start a conversation, or I don't think it's bad to like someone's story and kind of like show you're like paying attention. But again, too, because I've been going to church and I kind of have a new viewpoint on dating, and I did a poll on my Instagram story, and I used to be one way and I've switched, okay? I used to be like, girls, go for it. Like, go for your man. Like, pursue. But the more I read the Bible, the more I go to church, I realize it's kind of the man's job to pursue. I don't think it's bad to show interest, though. And the way I would show interest is, like, say there's somebody in your life, like a friend in your life, start spending more time with them. Start having more real conversations with them. Have, like, show your interest in, like, a physical sense of, like, your body language and your attention and the conversations that you're having. Like, make them real conversations that is showing that you do care, or do things for them. Like, if this is a friend in your life and you know things that they, like, appreciate, or like whatever their love language is, like kind of do things in that sense to show that you do care about them. And I think that kind of sends a message, but from there, like the guy should kind of pick up on that, I feel like, and then pursue you. But then again, if this is just someone on Instagram you think's cute, like their story, slide up on a thing, shoot him a DM. Girls DM a lot. That's one thing with my brother that I've learned. Girls shoot their shot a lot, and that is just not something I've ever done personally. Again, I don't know. I'll like a story. I've liked a story and I'll do that. I don't think there's anything wrong in that. But some of the stuff my brother gets said, I'm just like, wow, okay. Don't come off too strong. Like, don't be sliding with be my husband. Like, that's just, I feel like it's just not natural. I don't think that's organic. I don't know. But I just think that it's kind of like, the more I read the Bible, like I said, like a man should pursue a woman. That's like kind of their job. And so I think as a female, like giving them interest back, or like doing subtle things, I don't know, I guess I don't know if I'm answering this right, but like every situation is so unique and every like relationship is so unique. I don't think that there's like one specific, like there's not like a cheat code to dating. There's not like a one-way approach. I think each person is kind of different, but my best advice in what I would do in a situation if I liked a guy would be to like engage a little bit with them. And then if they're not picking up on it because you think like your friends and you're pretty convinced like, oh, they don't realize I like them at all, that's when I would kind of like step up from maybe like a like on a story, or like if you're DMing a little bit. I don't know, I guess you just have to make it known that you like appreciate their time and appreciate their presence, and I feel like that's enough. I don't think we need to be going above and beyond. I really don't. I think we do that too much. Honestly, I don't do that. I'm done doing that, personally. Okay, next question. I like this question because this is something I struggled with as well. It says, I don't drink and I don't party. Where do I meet people? LOL. And it's so sad because, again, I was victim to this. I'm not saying that it's bad that you think this, because this was literally me like 6 months ago. So I'm like, how am I going to meet somebody? I don't go out. But again, one, understand, if you don't drink and you don't party, anyone in that environment is not the person for you, because like, are you going to want to date someone who goes out and drinks and parties every single weekend when that's not something you do? No. So at that point, that's when you have to step back and be like, okay, what do I enjoy doing? For me, I enjoy going to the gym. I enjoy going to church. I enjoy baking. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy grocery shopping. I enjoy all that kind of stuff. So I put myself in those environments where I would meet somebody like that. And for example, the gym. And this is something that one of our friends taught my brother, and I've seen it with friendships. And I just think friendships and relationships really go hand in hand when like meeting new people. Like it's just as scary meeting a new girlfriend for me as it is meeting a new guy friend, like boyfriend. Because they're still a stranger and you still have to like see if you all click, you know, one's just intimate and one's not. But going to the gym, don't go into these environments. Like it's like your everyday environments that you're in is probably where you're gonna meet somebody, because like those are things you do on the daily. So you probably have something in common if you both are at the gym, you know? Or I even think like the timing of the day like says a lot about a person's routine and themselves. So like whatever time you regularly go to the gym, think about that. Like if they're a 5 a.m.er, okay, like you both are like on your grind, or maybe you both have similar work schedules, so you're at the gym at 5 a.m. Like think about that stuff. But they're gonna be a good match in that sense. But like one thing I was doing, and I think this is why I was struggling for a while, is I wasn't making myself approachable in these environments, because I don't go out and party and drink, but when I did, it was easy to go up to people because you're approachable. When you're drunk, you're not on your phone tucked away, like hiding away. You're a lot more social. So make yourself approachable. Like when I'm in the gym, and it's some of them I'm still working on, but it's like I don't just like walk around. If you're watching, like I don't just walk around like on my phone looking, or like swiping in a song, or looking at my watch. Like I used to do that stuff to like distract myself. Make yourself approachable, or literally go up and compliment somebody, or like start a small conversation. Be like, hey, like even if you don't like their shoes, but it's a guy you think is cute or something, like, hey, I love your shoes, or hey, I love your bag, or hey, I love your shirt, or like, what was that exercise you were doing? Like kind of start a small conversation, make yourself approachable, you know? Or even just come off, like I said, approachable. Like it's your body language. Like don't have your phone shoved in your face. Like walk around, like have a smile on your face, like be sweet, be kind. Converse. It's scary because no one does it anymore, but like that's how you're gonna meet people. That's how Jake's met so many friends. Is just like Jake's met so many friends recently because he goes to up in the gym, and you're like, hey bud, like good work, I saw you out there. Like it's just small talk, but then you break the ice and then you have a conversation. It's crazy how easy it is, but we don't do it because we're so scared. But in the gym or at church, that's the other place I find a lot of like this young adult night, like before and after, it's like a whole. I told Jake it feels like I'm going to like the bar where everyone's like walking around mingling. It's the perfect place to meet people. That's literally kind of what it's for, I think. Not necessarily dating, but just like making friends and connecting and networking and stuff. But mingle there. The one thing about meeting people is you have to be social, and that's so scary. Like I'm not a social person, and I'm still working on it. But put yourself in the environments that you enjoy, and it's so much simpler. But you have to be involved. It's so easy to not be involved in stuff. And I'm one who like I don't like leaving my house. I don't like leaving my shell. I don't like being in new environments. But I've started to do it, and now I'm like, okay, wow, I should have done this a long time ago, because I've one, grown so much as a person. Two, I've built a bigger like sense of confidence in myself that I can like go into these situations and like have a conversation with someone and meet somebody new. It's the scariest thing ever, but like it's so rewarding, because community and friendships is what makes life so rich and so good. So just do more, be out more. Like if friends want to sign up for like an intramural, like some sport or something like that, do that. So go to a club if you're in a university. Like get involved in stuff, because the things that you want to get involved in are your common interests, and then there's going to be people there, and your boyfriend might not be there, but hey, maybe you meet a new girlfriend and she's dating a guy who's best friends with a guy, and then boom 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 boom, pieces fall together in that sense. So just don't isolate yourself too much, and put yourself out there, and don't be afraid to like start a conversation in person. And it can be seriously something so simple as like, hey, your shoes are cool, where'd you get them? Or hey, I love your hoodie. Or hey, what was that exercise? Like it can be something so small at the gym, you know? But it's possible. It is possible. It's just like, don't think that's the only way to meet someone is at a bar, because that's like, for me, the last place I ever want to meet someone. All right, this is a question, and this is where we're going to talk about it. I didn't know if I was going to bring it up. Let me take a quick swig of my Celsius. All right. Have I tried dating apps? You guys, I think I did say this on one of my last podcasts. I deleted Hinge. And deleting Hinge was Hinge is the only dating app I've ever been on, ever downloaded it, ever anything. I think I downloaded it about a year ago. It was probably one of the worst decisions of my life, and I think it hindered my relationship with myself, and any possible relationship with another guy, ever. And the reason is, there's two reasons. The first, I'm going to talk about why I deleted it myself. I highly recommend deleting it. I'm not even going to lie, like, toxic for myself, because the whole time on Hinge, I was sitting there. The only reason I would go on there was because I felt like I was lacking confidence in myself, and it was like a boost of confidence, a reassurance to look through my likes and see who liked me or see if they hit on me. It was all this like external validation I was seeking from other men. And when I had this app, it had never been more top of mind for me. It's all I could focus on. I would literally be like at the gym. You know, muscle memory, when you accidentally open up Instagram and you're like scrolling, you're like, well, I didn't even remember opening the app. I was doing that with Hinge. That was embarrassing. I can't believe I'm telling you that. Like, I was doing that with Hinge, and I would check my likes because it was like a boost of serotonin and dopamine and a rush and being like, oh, this guy thinks I'm cute. But then on the flip side, I would sit there and I feel so bad about myself if there wasn't like a bunch of cute guys, because then I'm like, dang, I'm not like cute enough. Like, or my profile isn't like good enough. Like all the guys I want aren't liking, like, I rarely liked like guys on Hinge. Like I pretty much just went through my likes. I didn't really go through other likes. But when I did, the very rare times that I did, if I did like somebody and I realized they didn't like me back, boom, self-esteem to the floor, dropped, plummeted. I felt so bad about myself because I'm like, why am I not good enough? Am I not pretty enough? Am I not cute enough? Am I not whatever? And then I would start comparing myself and being like, who else is on this app? Then I would look at the girls like my brothers and I'm like, okay, I'm in Arizona 4. Like, I was just so, it was so toxic for me because it was literally how I was like scaling my confidence in myself based on like the people that were liking my profile. I was using it as like a self-fulfilling thing, and it was self-destructive. It was not fulfilling in the slightest. Like, it was so toxic. And two, I think it was hindering my ability to also date anyone, because when I would be talking to someone for a little bit, but then I get bored, and then I would just open the app back up and be like, oh, well, and I just forget about it. And it's like it alters like our perspective on dating. And like the issue that I have with like dating apps too is like it just gives everyone like this like perception that they can like talk to a million people and not ever have to like devote and like commit to like one person, because it's like you just keep checking more options, and people always think like more is better is yet to come, and they can always do better. So it's like they'll talk to you for a while until they meet someone better, and I think that's so toxic and so terrible, and it's not good for anyone. Like, it's not good for the person doing it, and it's not good for the person receiving it. And I feel like that's why like the dating world and like dating nowadays is like so terrible, because people like think it's okay to just like ghost out of nowhere, and like that's like not healthy for anyone, you know. But like, no, I literally deleted it, and I've never felt better, and I've never had more clarity since deleting it. Like a genuinely best decision in my life. Like I had a thing where I still had to download it, but I didn't let myself open it for like a week, and then I was like, wow, I'm in a really good mood today. Wow, all this. And then I just deleted it. I'm like, why is this still on my phone? So I literally just deleted it, and I have not once regretted it. Like, it has only benefited me and only made my confidence is back, my perspective on guys is better, and keep in mind, like, now it's like the guys that I'm gonna date are not on that app. I can promise you that. And the thing is, like, we use the apps because we don't want to go out in like the real world and actually like converse and make real relationships. It's like you just go on all these dates, and I don't know. It's not for me. It's not for me, at least. So I deleted them, and I will not be re-downloading ever. Okay, we're gonna wrap with one more question. Big one, and it was a question on how to be happy single. Okay, coming from a girl who's been single for like 2 years, let me just tell you what I've learned. So I think the most important aspect of this is understanding that one, like, singleness, the season of singleness is, in the grand scheme of your entire life, so small and minimal. Like, think you meet probably somebody, on average, I feel like everyone gets married around like 30, and on average we live to what, like 70 or 80. That's like 50. I feel like most people probably marry for like 50 years on average. So that's a huge percentage of your life. Like, over half of your life you're with like this one person. So the season of singleness is such a small, slim sliver of your life. Enjoy it. Like, enjoy it, because this is the point of your life where you can be the most selfish you've ever been. You don't have to think about anyone. You don't have to compromise for anyone. You literally get to discover who you are. And I think that's the season of singleness is created for that. Like, we are allowed to be single to see what we enjoy doing ourselves. Like, what we want to spend our Friday night doing, what clubs we want to join. Like, it's not dependent on somebody else. And I think one thing, oftentimes, when you like kind of start to date someone or start to see someone, and it's easy to do this, and it's really important not to do this though, is to like kind of turn into them and start doing things because you think they'll like you more because you do that. Like, say you like a guy and he likes football, and all of a sudden you just start watching football for no reason, or like doing all these, that was a bad example, I don't know, but like, it's like you just really have to be firm and have a really solid foundation of like who you are as a person before you start dating. And I think utilizing that season of singleness is so important. And so it's like literally devote that time of your life creating the highest version of yourself, the happiest version of yourself, because again, you attract the people at the same level that you're at. Like, you're gonna attract, people can meet you to the point that they're at themselves. So it's, I'm like a huge visual person. That's why I like this video podcast, because if you watch it, this is easier, probably makes more sense. But like, if the person is, if you're like maturity wise, or I think about it like in the context of like I said, timing is everything, and God is kind of typically still working on you, or your future like partner. One of you is probably still like in the growth season, and that's why you haven't met. That's how I view it. But it's like, the better you become, the better you attract. So it's like, why wouldn't you want to attract like the best human being ever? But like, in order to attract that, you also need to be that yourself. And that's what I think has made so much sense to me, is like, I wasn't a bad person, but I wasn't as mature. I didn't have the boundaries that I do now. I didn't have the understanding and the clarity. And like, I hadn't lived the life and met the people that I have now to have these revelations and these realizations of like what I seek out in another person too. Like, you guys, like 3 months ago, I barely even went to church, and now I'm like, I wouldn't even date a man who isn't like Christian, or like seeking God, or like wants to like put like God as a center of like relationship and stuff. But it's like, if I would have, you know, been impatient and fell into my loneliness, I would have probably settled for a different type of guy, and the relationship wouldn't have been as pure and healthy and fulfilling as it should be, and it will be now, because I'm that much higher and more mature and like educated, I guess, version of myself, and like I'm constantly growing. So it's like, the more time, the more growth. And so it's like, you really just have to be patient and understand like your singleness season is like a period of growth, and the more you work on yourself, I feel like the higher quality of a man that you'll meet, or a woman that you'll meet. Does that make sense? So it's like, don't rush it, don't get impatient, because the waiting season is like a growing season. It's a growing period, and the more things grow, the more strong and beautiful and healthy that they'll be. So just enjoy that and understand like it's such a small percentage of your life. So really take advantage of it, and take advantage of the selflessness that you can have and the opportunities that you can like go do and whatever. It's not bad. I feel like we just like have such a negative view on singleness, and it's like, it's actually like a really beautiful thing. So okay, I'm gonna wrap it up here because this was a long episode, and like I said, I'm probably gonna film another one next week with my brother. And if you guys have any more questions, shoot me a DM on my podcast Instagram, or my main one, and I'll add it to like the Q&A for my brother and I. But I hope this helped. I love you guys so much. And yeah, we'll chat later. Bye.